All right, so we're gonna do something a little different today. I wanted to go flying. I wanted to take you along maybe but it is also really windy. You can probably hear the clattering of our hangar in the background. If I step out of this little alcove, it gets really windy and you'll have a difficult time hearing me. So what we're gonna try and do, instead of going flying, is an oil change. It's something that we have to do semi-regularly, and I wanna show you what it takes. So here we go. Usually, when checking the oil, you wipe it first and dip it down, because the oil can run up the stick and give you a false reporting for how much oil you actually have. But we know we have enough to just scoot it out, so we're fine. One of the things that I love about this plane is how easy it is to get into the engine bay. You can see here, we're able to just undo a few screws and access almost everything. We need access to this side because our oil filler cap and our dipstick, as you saw earlier, are located right here. And then if we swing around to the other side, what you'll find is that our oil filter is located right there, just behind this cabin air intake hose. And then we've got our drain plug located right down here. It's that guy there. So we might have to move this hose out of the way a little bit. There is a drain hole underneath the engine right there. And that is, what we do is we'll remove that cap so that we can run a line out through the bottom of the engine and actually drain this oil. And then the fun part is that for the oil filter itself, you might see the little bit of wire there located hanging off the edge. Let's see if I can get it to focus here a little bit. That wire right there, what we do is that wire is wound in such a way to where as you were to try and loosen the oil filter, it actually tightens up. So it's a safety precaution. You'll see if you look at things all around the engine bay, critical components have that type of safety wire fastened to it to make sure that nothing comes loose in flight. So that's it. We first need to start draining the oil. It's nice and warm now, which is handy. And so we'll get that going. And then once that's mostly drained, we'll take that oil filter off, put on the new one, put it all back together. Here we go. All right, so we're all set to start draining this oil. You can see we've removed that covering that was just here on the inside. And then, so we removed that guy, and then we've got a pipe. Just like a little drain tube. It's having a hard time focusing, but a little drain tube tied to that drain hose. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna push that guy up. We're gonna twist, unlock, and then race the oil down, and it'll start draining here. And that'll start going. We have an oil test kit, so I'll get that set up in a minute, but I like to make sure that this is at least hitting the pan first before I step away, especially today, given how windy it is. And then a pro tip, and this works if you're also changing the oil in your car, but if you remove that oil dipstick or uncover your oil filler cap, it'll start draining a lot faster. So there it goes. All right, the next thing that we need to do is collect our oil sample. So what an oil sample can do is tell you a little bit about the health of your engine. Now our engine is starting to get up there some in age. It's still plenty healthy, but we collect the sample so that we can just monitor that health on an ongoing basis. Make sure that we aren't experiencing anything else major, that there isn't something more serious going on with the engine. We're hoping not. We're hoping we get at least a few more years out of this one because they are expensive to replace, but it's always better to know. We keep on waiting on the oil to change. We keep on waiting on the oil to change. All right, so while we're waiting, here is a little bit of trivia for you. How much oil do you think it takes to top off the Debonair during a change. Some benchmarks for you to consider. The engine in it is an opposing 6, like a Boxer 6. You can think about this, it's very similar to Subaru in terms of the orientation of the cylinders themselves. And it puts out 225 horse. So there you go, there are your hints. How much oil does it take to fully change the oil in the Debonair? Comment and we'll reveal it at the end of the video. All right, now that we got this hose out of the way, this cabin air hose, we can better get to the filter. I've gone ahead and clipped that safety wire. So we'll be able to pull this thing off. As soon as I take this off, a bunch of oil is going to start draining out of it. It's there's still probably about a quart left in the engine. There's a little bit of a helpful hint as far as how much might be in here, but we got to take that filter off, and then it's going to start pouring. And when we've done this in the past, our entire engine bay has gotten covered with oil. So we've jigged up this little guy. We can hook it around the outlet port for that oil filter, and then just drain it down towards our drain pan down below. It does take 2 hands, and it also will probably get a little bit messy still. So I'm gonna put the camera down while I do this, but I'll bring you back as soon as we've got this set up. All right, so we've got that oil filter off now, and you can see it's draining pretty good. Made a little bit of a mess, not too bad though. We'll mop it up before we put everything back together. The old oil filter is down here, it's draining out. One of the other things that we do is we can cut open that filter to see what all types of fragments are in there. Right now it's getting painted with oil, which is not particularly helpful, but so it goes. It is still windy, so we're gonna let this drain for a little while longer, and then we'll go ahead and get that new oil filter ready, and we'll start filling everything back up. All right, for those of you who've changed oil in a car in the past, this will likely look a little bit familiar. This is our oil filter. This is a new one. The way that it works is when you put it back on for the first time, you fill it up maybe a third to about half the way full of oil, and then you take a little bit of oil and lubricate the rings as well. That'll help protect the rubber, make it a little easier to tighten on. Alright, I just wanted to take a moment as well and show you what the color of oil looks like going in. You saw that nasty black stuff that we had coming out before. That's all that dirt, that sediment that the oil is cleaning out of the engine. So this is why it's important to not skip your oil changes. So here we go, let's go back on. We got that on. Now what we're going to do is we're going to get that safety wire, and we're going to loop it to this loop here. The reason for it is that the opposing hole is sort of on the back side here on the left, and so what we do is run it around and underneath that filter, and I'm going to attach it to a hole right about here. The reason for that again is in order to get the filter off, it needs to rotate counterclockwise this way, and so as it rotates, that safety wire will get tighter and tighter, preventing it from inadvertently popping off. All right, so we're in the process of putting on the safety wire here. It comes in a little tube like this guy right there. You just pull a bunch of it out. I've already looped it around the back, and we've got this handy little set of pliers. What you can do is you can clamp it onto the safety wire and lock it in place, and then it's got this pull. So we just rotate this guy, and it starts spinning that wire and tightening it down. We talked with mechanic, and the best practice that we were told anyway was that you want about 10 twists on that wire per inch. So we're just going to keep pulling this until we get to about that point. Alright, so at this part in the process, we've got it twisted up most of the way. We're going to go after this hole right here, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the pliers, and I'm going to clamp just below that hole and twist up to that point. The reason that you want to do that is if you twist beyond it, you don't really want to untwist it at that point. You're just going to need to restart your wiring. But for safety purposes, you want those twists, you want that twist to go up right into the point where you need to split it. So I'm going to go ahead and clamp it, twist, and then move it like thread it through the hole, we'll tie it off and I'll show you how it looks. All right, and there you have it. So we've got our wire coming up. It's pretty tight. We got it close to the hole, and then we've twisted past the hole after threading it and looped it off. You loop it off like this and then cut it. Keep there from being a sharp edge. So you loop it up around the top there, trim it, and you're good to go. So oil filter set. Now it's time to button up everything in here. Make sure everything's seated and sealed. We'll put this hose back up and start putting oil in the thing. All right, so here we go. We've got the oil filter back on. The drain port is sealed. We just need to put the side fin back on, but we're ready to fill it back up. So there is the oil filler hole. How much oil does it take to fill up a Debonair? 1964. Well, really, I guess. Fill up this particular engine. Here you go. 10 quarts. So it takes 10 quarts of oil to run this thing in a healthy way. It can go down lower than that a little bit if needed. Usually when we do an oil change, we'll put in 10 quarts and about half a quart will blow out, and then it'll hang out right around 9.5 to 9. So I'm gonna go ahead and put those in, and then we'll be ready to push it back.
I'm alone, I'm a broken home. I gave you all the bricks that I own and know. I'm letting go, I'm breaking these walls down, breaking these walls down.
All right, so we're just about wrapped up. The plane's sitting over there looking pretty. I just need to put the top down. I did check the weather, and unfortunately the winds are still whipping pretty good, a little bit faster across the runway than what I'm really wanting to deal with. And then they're saying it's pretty turbulent up in the air, so I don't know that I really want to chance it today. I mean, it would be fine, it'd just be a little uncomfortable, and this is intended to be a fun flight. I don't really have to get anywhere. So anyway, I do hope you've enjoyed this walkthrough. I am not a mechanic, so first and foremost, this is not a tutorial. Do not consider this an authoritative guide. So if you have any questions about what you're allowed to do or how to execute this work, do talk to your mechanic. I hope you enjoyed this. Until next time, stay up in the air.
I fell where my demons dwell. My own little nightmare, I call it hell. Oh well, it's time to get back up. Climbing and climbing, I'm done with this ride, is what I tell myself, so I could feel something else.